live stream, preparing to live stream the meeting, which means that we will probably be visible to everybody, but we can't see you yet. So give us a second. Be with you very shortly. Right. I see me. I see me. So just bear with me a second again. The right screen in front of me. Perfect. Perfect. Right. Here we go. Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to our show today. And we have such a treat in store for you, and John is going to tell us some more about it.
Yes, Drunvalo Melchizedek. You may remember him from a couple of the shows we've done. I think we did one in June and one in July that covered some of his work. A very, very interesting man who is here for a very specific purpose on the planet. He was a soul exchange walk-in back in April of 1972. You may have heard the piece that where it was discovered why he was brought in, because Melchizedek energy is a thing that's been around for thousands upon thousands, who knows, millions of years, for all I know. But say, for instance, Jesus Christ was named in the, I think in the Hebrew Bible or version or whatever, that there was something along the lines of Jesus was claimed to be forever the high priest of Melchizedek. So Melchizedek is where beings are brought in from higher dimensions to assist the planet with undertaking tasks that the indigenous populations of the world could not undertake for themselves. So the reason Drunvalo came here was to help the planet leading into the time of change, the 13,000 year cycles. So he was here to switch things around so that, well, work with the indigenous populations around the world to create the ceremony and the rituals that were required to bring in this new era. And so we're going to explore this a little bit today, and we've got some things to really, focus us in on this. And also I want to offer a quick note of gratitude to Shanti Shakti Shon, who is the child of the light, who has recently joined our community, for her inspiration in mentioning Drunvalo. She met Drunvalo himself back in 2006, and it's kind of like, it's quite a story behind that, but nevertheless, it was her mentioning it that kind of caused me to look a little bit deeper into the Drunvalo thing, because we always knew we were going to come back anyway. And we pulled together some materials for you, and then we have an interview then also with a lady called Viola Rose, who I have noticed has made it onto the Zoom. So I think a little wave there to Viola. You will be bringing you in probably about 20 to 20 past the hour, Viola, because we're going to run through the first video section first, just to set the scene. This is a really fascinating time on the planet. I've been blown away by what I've learned just recently myself, and that's part of the joy of doing the Elevated Planet thing, is I am constantly learning. I've only been doing this stuff for just over 6 years myself, which makes me a mere novice compared to many. But I kind of feel I represent the mainstream, because it really wasn't that long ago that I had that very mainstream mindset. So I know exactly what that feels like, and I also know how easy I could still be in that mindset right now. So everybody has their own version of truth. Everybody has their own trigger points for various things to happen. And mine happened 6 and a bit years ago. And here I am on this journey. And I love this journey. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do is start this first little video sections. It's 2 videos. The first one is about the School of Remembering, which is a mystery school that was created by Drunvalo a few years ago. Now, in conversation with Viola just recently, I discovered that the School of Remembering was officially closed at the end of July, but it has been replaced, and it has been replaced, as you will see on the opening notes for the video, by the rememberingtheheart.com. So whatever is covered in there is still very relevant to where we are going today. So if you bear with me a second, we will call that first video section in. Oh, and it goes into two different, and I'm not going to stop it between the two. There's the bit with Drunvalo, and then there's a 5-minute section there, which gives a very scientific explanation of what is going on the planet right now. And it backs up what Drunvalo is talking about from a scientific perspective, because it's quite deep stuff. And it's not something I would have known off the top of my head. So I kind of searched out a little bit of extra scientific evidence to back up what is being said here. And I think it kind of makes it quite powerful. Oh, and the first video itself is a slightly dated one because it does go back. It was done a few years ago. So apologies for the grainy quality of that. The second one is a very detailed video of modern day science. So here we go. Bear with me.
Hello everybody, I'm Drunvalo Melchizedek, and I'm the founder of the School of Remembering. And I used to be the founder of the Flower of Life that went all around the world with teachers everywhere for about 30 years. But we have learned so much in the last few years that we have created a new school called the School of Remembering, and to include the secret knowledge of the heart. This is something that is essential. And so we have just transformed everything on a global level. The School of Remembering is a mystery school, and it is using a very ancient knowledge that has been transmitted around the world in all kinds of traditions, from Tibetan and Hindu to many other schools that you would never know because they were secret. This knowledge was transmitted in ancient languages all around the world a long time ago. And as we approach more toward the modern times, these schools are still going, they're just hidden. But they have a problem. They are using ancient terms and ancient knowledge and ancient ways of perceiving to try to get you to understand something that in modern terms, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And for this reason, it takes about 21 to 40 years to be able to understand and to master this using these schools. So what I've done is spent most of my life studying these schools, and now I understand what they're saying, but what I have done is translated it into modern understandings and modern concepts and ideas so that so it flows and is understandable. And so instead of going 21 or 40 years, in the School of Remembering, you can get the same information in about 4 or 5 days. And this is important because we don't have 20 years or more to be able to study something at this point. From the very people who wrote those books and those understandings, they know that we don't have very much time left in the cycles before there's going to be very large transformations on Earth. And so that is one of the biggest advantages that we have. We are now at a paramount moment in history, and I think almost everybody on Earth can feel this. You can feel the speed at which things are happening. You can see the chaos all around us. Everybody feels the tension that is happening globally. This was the Mayan prophecy, the Hopi prophecy, the Kogi prophecy, that this is where we are and this is what this is about. So we have come to this moment in history when we as human beings must respond in a way different than what we do in our normal everyday lives. We have to, because of the situation that we're in. We have to know things that we don't know yet. We have to remember things that we have long forgotten. And we can do this, and you can do this, but it requires a little bit of a catalyst, a little bit of help, and that's why we're here. So we've created a class called Awakening the Illuminated Heart, and this class goes far beyond the Merkaba that we taught in the Flower of Life. This includes all the secret knowledge of the heart. This is the knowledge that was never written down. It was always an oral tradition. It was hidden, kept away from the public and everything else for thousands, actually tens of thousands of years. And now we need this. And so this is the reason we created this school, was to serve you and the world, and to present this knowledge in a simple way that we can all understand. So for you, we have created a class that goes far beyond the Merkaba, that includes the secret knowledge of love, and this knowledge that has been hidden for so long, and how that all fits into everything that we need to know. Love is something that I know that we all understand from a feeling body how important it is, but from another level, love is way more important than we normally think. It is what creates everything in the universe. It creates the very reality that we walk around in. And we need to know these things. We need to remember who we really are and what this is all about. And this is what this class brings you to. It brings you to the point where you know who you are, and you remember that love is the guiding light that makes everything come into balance. Without this love, we cannot ascend into higher consciousness, and we cannot go beyond where we are now. There is another thing about this information. Now, sure, it is ascension information that we think will bring us into another world, but it's much more than that, because it allows you to open up in ways to understand how things function and work. And you can apply that now, here, today, before you ascend. In certain cases, it is not just something that we kind of need to know, but really, without it, it's going to be a big deal. For example, we have a cosmic event taking place right now. It's called the Geomagnetic Reversal. Our governments are doing everything they can to make sure that you don't know about this. The last time we've had a geomagnetic reversal was 780,000 years ago, according to science. So no living person has ever experienced this ever before. But the information is coming in from England and the United States and Russia and various places, and we're beginning to discover that the weakening of the geomagnetic field is important for us to understand. Right now, there are over 35 major diseases that are being caused purely by this geomagnetic field becoming so weak. And science recognizes this and knows it, though no one's telling you about this. If we can remember and we can begin to do something with our Merkaba and our heart that we have long forgotten, what that will do is it will recreate the geomagnetic field around your body separate from the earth itself. And this will allow you to survive what most people on earth probably will not be able to survive.
Did you know that Earth has two North Poles? There's the geographic North Pole, which never changes, and there's the magnetic North Pole, which is always on the move. And right now, it's moving faster than usual. Over the last 150 years, the magnetic North Pole has casually wandered 685 miles across northern Canada. But right now, it's racing 25 miles a year to the northwest. This could be a sign that we're about to experience something humans have never witnessed before: a magnetic polar flip. And when this happens, it could affect much more than just your compass.
Right now on the surface of the planet, it looks like it's just a bar magnet, right? Our compasses are just pointing toward one pole at a time, because there's a dominant two-pole dipole system.
But sometimes, Earth doesn't always just have a single magnetic north and south pole. Evidence suggests that for hundreds to thousands of years at a time, our planet has had 4, 6, and even 8 poles at a time. This is what has happened when the magnetic poles flipped in the past. And when it happens again, it won't be good news for humans. Now you might think that 8 poles must be better than 2, but the reality is that multiple magnetic fields would fight each other. This could weaken Earth's protective magnetic field by up to 90% during a polar flip. Earth's magnetic field is what shields us from harmful space radiation, which can damage cells, cause cancer, and fry electronic circuits and electrical grids. With a weaker field in place, some scientists think this could expose planes to higher levels of radiation, making flights less safe. This could also disrupt the internal compass in many animals, which use the magnetic field for navigation. Even more extreme, it could make certain places on the planet too dangerous to live. But what exactly will take place on the surface is less clear than what will undoubtedly happen in space. Satellites and crewed space missions will need extra shielding that we'll have to provide ourselves. Without it, intense cosmic and solar radiation will fry circuit boards and increase the risk of cancer in astronauts. Our modern way of life could cease to exist. We know this because we're already seeing a glimpse of this in an area called the South Atlantic Anomaly. Turns out, the direction of a portion of the magnetic field deep beneath this area has already flipped, and scientists say that's one reason why the field has been steadily weakening since 1840. As a result, the Hubble Space Telescope and other satellites often shut down their sensitive electronics as they pass over the area, and astronauts on the International Space Station report seeing a higher number of bright flashes of light in their vision, thought to be caused by high-energy cosmic rays that the weaker field can't hold back. Since experts started measuring the anomaly a few decades ago, it has grown in size and now covers a fifth of Earth's surface, with no signs of shrinking anytime soon. This is so extreme that it could be a sign we're on the brink of a polar flip, or we may already be in the midst of one. But scientists remain skeptical, mainly because
the last thing the poles reversed was 780,000 years ago. So it's not, we don't have an oral record.
Turns out 780,000 years is over double the time that Earth usually takes between flips.
Since the last mass extinction, there have been reversals roughly every 300,000 years.
So what gives? Well, scientists haven't figured it out yet. It's unnerving to think that our modern way of life, banking, the stock exchange, missile tracking, GPS, relies on the outcome of something we can neither predict nor control. One study went so far as to estimate that a single giant solar storm today could cost the US up to $41.5 billion a day in damages. And that's with the Earth's magnetic field at its current strength. It's frightening to even imagine the devastation a storm would bring to an Earth with a magnetic field only 10% as strong as it is now. We may not be able to stop a polar flip, but we can at least start to take measures to minimize the damage. The first step? Figure out what's going on with this wacky field. On the hunt are the European Space Agency's swarm satellites that are currently collecting the most precise data on the strength of Earth's magnetic field. Right now, they could be our greatest hope for solving this riddle.
Right, here we go. I'm back again. So, okay, so this was the picture that we're really trying to paint here, because this is important. Okay, I felt it was important to back up what Drunvalo had to say with, a little bit of modern science as of like very recent times. And there's no doubt about it, this is a really big deal, as Drunvalo himself said. There was also part of Drunvalo's work where he mentioned about the Mir space station when that was first sent out beyond the orbit, the typical orbit of the Earth back in the 1980s. What happened there was that the first astronaut who was put there, we all went fine for the first week, and in the second week they lost touch with him, and then they had to go and get him back because they lost contact. And it turned out that what had happened is that his brain, his mind, his memory had been wiped. And they brought him back, and he was completely insane, and they could not cure him from whatever he'd gone through. But they'd replaced him with another astronaut as they sort of like picked him up. The same thing started happening to him, so they went and got him back. So then the Mir space station remained unmanned for several years, and what they'd worked out is because it was beyond the Earth's electromagnetic field, so he was then subject to all this radiation. Now, what's happening is that we are now starting to see this, and particularly around Brazil and associated countries around there, they're now being exposed to a lot more solar radiation and planet, interplanetary or galactic radiation. And of course, what does this mean? Well, certainly from a cancer perspective, then it's obviously not good news. And in fact, there was a conference due on that this week where they had these 8 major oncologists who were going to be presenting at a conference in Brazil, and unfortunately their aircraft was crashed. You may have seen that on the news, but that had 8 major oncologists who were due to talk at a conference in Brazil on this very subject. Now, I'm just going back to this, the Mayan Ouroboros, that Drunvalo's book, because just very briefly, just before I bring in Viola any second now, I just wanted to read this. He said, in approximately 2009, scientists who study the Earth's magnetic field, many of the same ones who spoke on Nova, went onto the internet to warn the world. They had 11 days before the government shut them down out of fear of public panic. The scientists wrote that there were so many anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field that they believed that within 25 years, the geomagnetic field of the Earth could not only move to a new location, but could switch its polarity, meaning that the geomagnetic North Pole would become the South Pole and the opposite, which is what we just heard. In 2011, the same scientists went back onto the internet with even stronger warning. They said that the anomalies were so great that they feared the possibility of a magnetic pole reversal any minute. The government shut them down after only 5 days. So what we're seeing here is that, this is something that is being hidden from public view. Now, I say that, but if you go on to YouTube and the likes, you will find details, and I would encourage you to do it, because as we always say on Elevated Planet, we don't ask you to take our word for anything. This is a time where it pays to use discretion, personal discretion, and do your own research, because we are bombarded with as much misinformation as we are information. So I would always encourage you to do your own research. Now, having said all of that, at this point, I do want to bring in Viola. How are you, Viola?
Hi, happy to be here.
Oh, thank you very much for coming all the way over from Sedona
Yeah.
by internet. I love Sedona. I was only there back in June, and it is a beautiful part of the world. And obviously, you are effectively close by Drunvalo himself over there as well, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I live in a little town just outside of Sedona, and Drunvalo lives in another little town just outside of Sedona. So it's all in the community.
Very nice, very nice, and it is such a beautiful part of the world. The energies there are fantastic. Now, what we're talking about here, really, I suppose, one of the points I want to make here is that clearly this is a time that humanity needs to sit up and take notice of this, something that we need to be aware of. But this is not just about trying to scare people as to what's going on around. It's all about finding a solution. And this is where Drunvalo's helped as well with what he has created and put together, which Viola Rose has been part of that process. So would you care to share with us a bit of the origins of Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop that has been put together?
Yeah, sure. So in 2011 was the first time Drunvalo offered the Illuminated Heart Workshop. Before that, he was offering the Earth Sky Heart Workshop, and then the Earth Sky Workshop, and then the Flower of Life Workshop, which started in the 80s. And it's been a progression because as a collective, we've also been progressing and evolving. So Drunvalo isn't just going to create a workshop and then let it be static, because he's a researcher and he's always searching. So as it's continued to evolve, as we've continued to evolve collectively. And back in the 80s, people were much more in their minds, and people, even feminine minded people, were being taught and trained to be very, very logical.
Yes.
And so when he presented the information about the Merkaba, as he was instructed to do from his guides, then he was told that to reverse the order in which things were taught, so that way people could access it. So it never started with the heart. It started with the Merkaba, because when people were in their minds more, they needed the sacred geometry and the interesting information about the Merkaba to get their interest.
Right.
And so it played its part, and he taught it that way for many years. And what it did is allowed people a way into the heart, because they started with ways that would interest them. And then over time, as more and more people were able to activate their Merkaba, which was done back at that time in a synthetic form because people weren't ready to get into their heart and actually activate their natural heart-based living Merkaba, which is the one that is organic to us, that we naturally have around us. And until that time that we were ready to access it, he was given the guidance to have people create a Merkaba that was synthetic, but that would do. And so because it was synthetic, you had to do the meditation every day
Right.
to keep it alive, right?
Yes.
And so then in 2011, when enough people had activated their Merkaba and when people were starting to come more and more into their heart, he was finally given the green light, go ahead. Now let's do it in the original order that was intended. So in 2011, in November of 2011, he gave his first Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop in Sedona and introduced the original way of activating the Merkaba from the heart. And so this way the ego couldn't be involved as it could before when you started with the mind in the old way. And then from there, you could still have your ego intact. And then people could think that they're spiritually superior, or they might change the way that they were doing it and try to teach it to the world as if they were masters. Well, with this way, you start with the heart. And from there, you learn to open the third eye and activate the Merkaba. And so it's a fail-safe because the ego isn't involved. And I got to be at that workshop with Drunvalo in 2011 and take that workshop. And he teaches it in 5 days. Most of us teachers teach it in 4, but he would do it for 140 people at a time. So it took longer. And every day in that workshop, I would walk away going, oh my God, this is the most important thing I have ever done or ever learned. And so on the last day, when he said, I want to train people, I want to select 100 people from around the world and train them to be my facilitators to teach this work. I just knew, that was for me. So I've been doing this ever since I trained with him in January of 2012. And since then I have been doing this. I've taught over 100 of these 4-day intensives. I've just been living and breathing it. And it's still as magnificent and as relevant and as powerful as ever, possibly even more now than ever.
Right, right. And I do love this this whole principle. Now, one thing that I would ask you to just explain a little bit more for our audience, particularly, is the Merkaba, right? Just give us a little bit more about what is the Merkaba and how that operates.
So the Merkaba is your light body. It is your ascension vehicle, and it is talked about in ancient texts as the Merkaba, Merkava, different places. And it is what is our field, electromagnetic field, that allows you to move through dimensional levels. And the heart-based Merkaba that we're talking about in the Awakening the Illuminated Heart is our natural Merkaba, and it is a 4th dimensional technology. Because in Drunvalo's understanding, we're going from the 3rd to the 4th, and then onward from there. And a dimensional shift usually follows a pole shift. So that is very interesting that you started with the information of the pole shift and how that is relevant, and why Drunvalo talks about that in relation to the Merkaba is that the weakening of the magnetic fields weakens so much so that poles can actually shift, and that will often then trigger a dimensional shift. And so since all the signs are pointing to the fact that we are getting closer and closer to a pole shift, then it is more likely that we're also getting ready to shift into this 4th dimensional level. And now in between dimensional levels, there's a void. Just like notes on the piano, right? We have a harmonic note here, C, and then we have a harmonic note here, D. In between that is dissonance. So in between the dimensional levels, you've got to go through the void, sometimes called that 3 days of darkness, or the void space in between. And in order to go through to the next higher dimensional level, you have to be running a technology that is of that higher dimensional level. Yes. So any 3rd dimensional technology will not take you through the void into the 4th dimension. You need a 4th dimensional technology, which the heart-based Merkaba is. Yeah. And so it is an electromagnetic field. It is a dualistic field because in the 3rd dimension, we have a lot of duality, but in the 4th dimension, we even have a small amount of duality. So it is an electromagnetic counter-rotating field that rotates at 9/10 the speed of light around your body, which will allow you to keep your memories intact when a pole shift happens. Whereas you said those astronauts lost all their memories when they went into outer space, but your electromagnetic field keeps your memories in the transition and allows you to go consciously to the next dimensional level. So that is what Drunvalo is here to teach. That is the importance of it, because we're getting ready for that time. And if we have our Merkaba intact, we'll go consciously. And one other thing, if it doesn't happen necessarily in our lifetime, it still is very relevant, because when you die, if you die with an activated Merkaba, you'll keep your memories intact. So you get to die consciously, and therefore not get looped in the reincarnation loop. You can be free to then go on to the higher levels of existence.
Yeah. I mean, this is all remarkable stuff. And, as one of the joys I've had since I only really recently discovered Drunvalo myself. And, I've loved reading the books. It totally aligns with my beliefs and the way that my evolution has expanded over these last few years. And and particularly being in touch with, well, like the walk-in side of things that we were talking the other day about the Sheila Seppi thing, and how that linked me in ultimately to identify who Drunvalo himself was, and understanding that we're going through this incredible time on Earth, transformation, a shifting of energies. And this is one of the things that always really interested me as well, is that when you look at one of the ones that I've studied a lot over the years is Dolores Cannon and her work in QHHT, and listening to all this amazing stuff about the Earth shift, the splitting of the planet effectively was the way that it was, visualized. How does that happen when you know that there is a split? And it makes sense. There are those who will prepare themselves for higher dimensional shift, and those that will not be able to will choose. I mean, it's a choice, right? Everything on this planet is free will. There's nobody is going to force anybody to do anything. It's just a case of whether you can actually get your head around the fact that life is not what we think it is. It is so much better. It is so much more expanded. It is so much opportunity to expand your consciousness to a higher level. But understanding that from a 3D perspective, as I know, if I'd have wound the clock back 6 years, I would have struggled with this concept. Now, I can drink it in. And one of the things I will tell the Elevated Planet community, I know that when I saw the work of Viola Rose earlier this week, and one of the things that really drew me to her particular version of the course was the fact it was available as an online course that you could do separately yourself. I mean, do you want to just fill in the details on that one a bit, Viola?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, I've been facilitating the work for, since 2011, and it was always done in person, actually,
Yes.
for years and years. And then, of course, when everything locked down, I had a workshop scheduled 2 weeks out, and nobody wanted to come because they were all too scared. And I thought, this work is more relevant now than ever. I'm just going to do it online and see if it works. I didn't even know if it would work. And I taught it online, and to my surprise, it actually worked in some ways better than the in-person workshop. You don't get the community aspect and the
Yes.
hugs and the lunch breaks, but
Yes.
people were in the comfort of their own homes and were able to go much deeper into the meditations because there was no distractions. They weren't traveling across the country, staying in Airbnbs and whatnot. And so I became a fan of it. And then eventually we did get Drunvalo's permission to teach it online. So I've been doing that, and most teachers have moved on to now just going back to do it in person, but I still love the online workshop because people can attend from all over the world. It costs less, there's less travel fees. And so I've continued to do that. And then when the School of Remembering was going to be closing its website down at the end of the summer, at the end of July, I realized, well, why don't I have a pre-recorded version that this way when people contact me and they actually want to do the workshop, it'll be harder to come up with whole groups to do it live online.
Yes.
And so I recorded a workshop that I had done just this in June with a group of 8 people, and they all gave me permission to be able to use it in this way. And so I do have a pre-recorded workshop. And so what I'm doing is I went through the workshop and gave instructions if a person was doing it on their own. And I send a person the recording of day 1, they watch it, and then afterwards they ask me questions. We set up an audio correspondence so people can audio text each other and ask questions and share. And so you're doing it on your own time. And so you can take up to 2 weeks to go through it if you need to, and you can do it in your own schedule. But at the end of each day, we have a correspondence. And so you're getting real-time instruction from me, but doing it in your own time. And it's actually working really well because people can Especially people who don't speak English very well can go slower, can rewind, can do the meditation a second time. And so people are really loving that version.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really drawn to that because and particularly since in early September, I know that I've got about 11 days of relative quiet here where I will not have many distractions. So that is when I have already mentally put aside the time to actually go through that. So what I would say is that we will put Viola Rosa's full details on here on the newsletter and on the subtext of this particular recorded video once once we do the editing process. So everybody will get access to that information to explore it for themselves. But certainly I will report back once I've gone through Viola Rosa's Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop as well. I'm excited about it.
And I did want to add that I'm still doing the live workshops as well. So I do the next online real-time workshop I have is October 19 to 22. And then the next in-person workshop I have is in Sedona, February 14 to 17. So, there are options if somebody wants to go through in real time, but if you want to do it in your own schedule and fit it in whenever you want, the recorded version is available for any time.
Sure. And I can understand each one has its own benefits as well, because it exists. The flexibility of being able to choose your own time and in your own space, no travel, no disruption from that perspective. But at the same time, being there with the community also definitely has its benefits as well.
Yeah, and what I do is 4 times a year, I offer a refresher course for people who've already gone through the workshop. And it's just a donation-based thing, and it's a half day to go through all the processes and all the meditations and everything of the workshop because I love this so much. And I've been doing it so long, I know how valuable it is. It's a part of my daily life as a practice and as a facilitator. And so people very often will go through a workshop, get the nugget, move on to the next thing. It's what we do as seekers. But this work, it's so valuable to have these tools accessible on the regular that I quarterly offer that refresher course half day. And so even if someone goes through on their own in the pre-recorded version, they will still have access to do the real-time follow-up refresher courses with me anytime. So there's opportunities for both.
I love that. That really does make a lot of sense. And as you say, it kind of overcomes that lack of community feel, right? For when you do it. Absolutely. That's very well thought out. So I truly appreciate that. And I agree. I think this is possibly one of the most important things for us to realize that is going on out there. And, I'm keen that when people actually see this video, that they share it, because I think that the more we get this word out there, people need to understand what is going on at a planetary level. And that's nobody's fault. That's not a result of pollution or anything like that. This is a natural cycle. But
Right.
it's a natural cycle which is presenting us with an opportunity to go into a higher level of consciousness. But it does take, as Drunvalo himself said, it takes a catalyst, right? A catalyst to move ourselves through this ascension process. But it's been narrowed down to such an extent. I mean, it used to take 21 to 40 years to learn it through the ancient way. So to narrow it down to 4 days is actually is pretty clever, really. But
yeah, this is sovereignty training. That's not a word I've heard Drunvalo use, but it's the one I use because for me, what I see in this training is it's all about that we have everything we need inside of ourselves to walk the path of ascension. And we just maybe need to be reminded of that, which is why Drunvalo called the school of remembering, because we know all this stuff. We just have to remember it. But to be able to activate your Merkaba, your light body, that you have naturally within you, that's so empowering. Then make access to your higher self and have the guidance directly from your own higher self. Learn to access the unified field from the center of your heart. Like, we have all these technologies within us. We are sovereign and we can be sovereign. And in a way, it's a workshop to end all workshops, because then you have your tools and you don't need to look outside of yourself for answers anymore, because that's where the duality will trip you up. But when you're inside in the unity of your heart, then everything is clear.
yes, yeah. In fact, we have a last few seconds before we go into Jolé's sort of meditation. That we have a little piece again from Drunvalo. It's only about 45 seconds, but it's where he actually talks about that. The duality of the mind relative to the heart, kind of thing. So So that's the perfect little line up there for us as well there. So thank you for that, Viola. So yeah, and here's an image as well. I just want to show this because I know this is not a brilliant picture, but I'm just going to call this up. Bear with me a second, because I think it kind of talks a little bit about where we are talking right now. Okay, share screen. Right. So here is an image of how that toroidal field looks. Now, the one on the left, which says fear, is kind of more of your, this is a shrunken, a condensed toroidal field, which is as a result of the duality. It's a result of fear-based. And yet, when you go into the heart-based type of thing, this again, it's all just a basic graphic, but it shows how expansive and strong that field is relative to when you're in the duality of the mind. So that's that. I just thought I'd show that because I think this is the important point that people need to understand. It's an invisible field, right? It doesn't mean it's not there. It is there. We are magnetic beings, right? We have electricity running through us. It's part of what we are. We have electricity, we have water, we have, we're all light. We're, 99.9999% light and 0.0001% particle. All this amazing stuff, right? To create this incredible, human vehicle for us to travel through life. But honestly, I see so much value in the way that, this comes to, focuses in on the heart, strengthens that field, enables us to withstand this bombardment of electromagnetic energies coming in at us because we don't have the Earth's defenses to the same degree. Therefore, as Drunvalo himself has said, is that it's all, because you have this heart-based kind of way of being, these things won't affect you. Is that an accurate description, Viola?
Absolutely. There's, love is the most powerful force in the universe. And the more that we're anchored here and living in the heart, we have more ability to just say, no, thank you. I'm not going to buy into fear. I'm not going to buy into that story. I'm not going to buy into that thing, and just stay in our heart. The ability to not go into fear. The more we don't go into fear, the more we can't be controlled. And so on an emotional level and on a psychological level, that's true, but also on an energetic level, like you just showed, the force field of love and the Merkaba is so protective and so strong, that you become fearless and you can walk in the world in any way and know that nothing can really touch you.
This is absolutely true. And this is what I love about this. It's coming back to this fearless perspective. And we do get, but the problem is we've been programmed and conditioned for a lifetime. And those who are still in the mainstream, as I was up until the age of almost 58 years old, to me, that world was my world. And it's only that I have learned incrementally that actually life is so much bigger and better than that. But we have been controlled, we've been manipulated. But now is an era where all this comes to light and we start to understand that we have sovereign power that is enormous. And so what you're saying to me, Viola, is really music to my ears because, whatever takes us into our sovereignty and to the realization of our true power is what Elevated Planet is really all about. So, and I just want to ask Jolé actually if she'd care to join us for a moment. Jolé, are there any questions? Any questions you would care to ask Viola?
Oh, Viola, thank you so much for joining us. It's truly an honor, and I'm so grateful. I have no questions. I think you guys did such a great job. I think you answered everything. And so I'm going to let you guys go on ahead and wrap it up, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Viola, is there anything you would care to add before we start to move towards the meditation?
I think I'll just close with saying that you can find out a whole lot more about the workshop on my website, violarose.com. So that's really simple. And there's a lot of information there about that and a lot of videos as well that I've done, different interviews and different introductory classes for free, all up on my website at violarose.com.
Wonderful. And as I say, we're going to put links onto the newsletter as well and everything. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it to take it myself in maybe about another 2 to 3 weeks. So it's in the not too distant future. So Viola Rose, I would just love to say thank you to you. And, you know, I think that what you're doing is amazing. And Drunvalo, you know, what can I say about him? You know, I mean, the man is here on a very special purpose, and to, you know, to be linked into the work that he's doing is an honor. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, delightful to be here. Thanks for bringing me on.
Thank you, Viola. And we'll let you get back onto to breakfast time in Sedona.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. Goodbye. And okay, to the elevated planet community now. Where we're heading is the meditation side of things, because we've got a lot of information here that we've had today, and I think that this is where Jolé is going to work her magic, sprinkle some of her fairy dust on all these points that have come to the fore. And before we go into the meditation, I also want to just also mention pre-meditation. I just wanted to offer continued healing vibes to Janet. Janet, who is one of our regulars in the community, and she just recently had an operation and she's recovering well. But we want to just send yet more healing vibes to Janet because we love her to bits. She's been a great part of our community. But also to Shanti Shakti Shon, who I mentioned earlier, who was the inspiration for today's shows to get us pointed to Drunvalo. And you know what? I don't think there's any coincidences out there. I think she has a a special role to play. But she herself is going through battling her own demons at the moment, and we want to send her all our love, healing, and blessings and strength for that journey that she is on as well. And Jolé, you know, I think the other thing that we wanted to mention was if anybody has anything in future that you want to us to mention so that it becomes part of the meditation. What do you think, Jolé?
Absolutely. I would say write to us or let us know in the comments if there's someone that you would like to send this loving energy to, so collectively we can do that and help them heal or
Fantastic.
transform.
Okay, right. So what we're going to do now then is we are going to go to a final little section of video, which is literally about 45 seconds long, which is Drunvalo explaining some of the things we were just talking about. And immediately after that, without hesitation, that is when it will just continue and Jolé will start to work her magic with the guided meditation and visualization. So if you bear with me a second, I will switch screens. Okay.
What we don't know, most people don't know, is that we have another emotional body, and that's connected through the heart. But that emotional body has no polarity to it. And so there is the only place that you can experience what everybody's talking about of unconditional love. We can create from the brain, but we'll get a polarized creation pattern when we do it. We can leave our brain and go into our heart, and we can create from there, and then we get exactly what the intention is.
So put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up on your thighs, and just begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest, to that place that is a symbol of loving vibrations, compassion, and forgiveness, and command your heartbeat to sync up with your breath. I want you to go ahead and command for all of the blood being pumped out of your heart and throughout your body to turn heart-shaped into the shape of a heart, moving loving, healing, transformative energy throughout the body. Moving out anything that no longer serves you, anything you're ready to let go of and release As we let the heart do its thing, we bring our awareness to between our sit bones and we ground our energy into Mother Earth. At a resting state, your grounding cord is 6 inches in diameter and connected to your first chakra. As it moves through the crust of the lithosphere and it travels at the speed of love through the asthenosphere and roots itself into the core of Mother Earth, bringing you into the present moment, receiving all of her nurturing, loving energy. As those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles mobilize to the blanket, the inside and the outside of your grounding cord, cleaning off the past, the things that no longer serve you, any disease, any illness, anybody else's energy. These golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles are bringing you into the present moment and back to your pristine nature. And a place of curiosity and compassion and collective energy and collaboration built on love. So this grounding cord is made of love. All of the little atoms in the cells are heart-shaped, connecting you to the frequency and the vibration of the loving energy of Mother Earth. As you let that take place and bring your awareness into the center of your head, and here, you're going to open your crown and allow for 85% cosmic gold from the heavens to cascade down into the crown and saturating your skull and your brain. But let's get into the science of it so the left brain can relax and allow for the right brain to do what it does. In between the skull and the brain are 3 layers of tissue. And we make sure that gold light hits the dura mater, which is the outer layer of that tissue. And the inner is the arachnoid, the middle layer. See that gold light light up all of that web-like structure in the center, as well as reaching the pia mater, which is the closest to the skull. And you see that gold light work its way through the tissue and into the brain and into the folds and into the synapses, the neurons, reprogramming you to default to the messages from the heart as that loving vibration that your blood has turned into is moving and integrating with that gold light. Let that take place as you begin to open the bottoms of your feet like you would the lens of a camera, calling in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you, pooling in the bottoms of your feet, taking on that love that your blood is giving, that frequency, that electricity, that vibration of love as Mother Earth takes in that command and travels up the side channels of your legs, mixing in with that beautiful, beautiful energy that is you as that gold light begins to cascade down your spine, lighting up each vertebra, animating those nerves, working out any blockages, anything you're ready to let go of and release, moving down and meeting that earth energy in the first chakra as it then begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup. Mixing in with the earth energy in the feet as it comes up, moving throughout your body, all the ligaments, the muscles, the cells, the bones, moving up, up, up into your hips. All of this love is moving out. And as it begins to move up and into your heart opens and this begins to sprout out into your aura layer, lighting it up. resolving and dissolving any traumas from the past as it moves throughout your aura layer, fixing any holes, any rips, any tears, getting rid of anyone else's energy, giving it back to them, calling all of your energy back as this essence moves out and up and meeting with that beautiful earth energy, 15%, and that cosmic gold life force energy, 85%, as it's sprouting out of your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filling up your aura layer. As you take a deep breath in and exhale, as I gently remind you, you are grounded and rooted into Mother Earth with the grounding cord, which at its resting state is 6 inches in diameter. It is blanketed with golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles, cleaning off all negative energy. Your aura is now 1.5 feet around you, lit up with that energy from Mother Earth and Cosmic Divine, sprouting out your feet, hands, and crown chakra, as your higher self is standing at a position of power, at a comfortable distance above your head, receiving all of these divine messages of love, as it then connects to your toroidal field, which is moving out into the universe, bringing loving vibrations, helping to elevate the planet as that is locked into a pyramid directly above with a capstone, which then connects to all of the ley lines and the energy of Mother Earth, as you are safe and divinely protected and connected to Mother Earth, to your environment, and to the highest part of you, as a beautiful white light then begins to laser beam down from the heavens through Mother Earth, through that capstone, down through that pyramid, lighting up and fortifying that toroidal field that's filled with your unique DNA and your energy, as it then moves down through the toroidal field, through your higher self, moving through that beautiful golden oil, that 85% that's cascading down already, down through your crown, through the center of your head, down through your spine, down through your grounding cord, and into the core of Mother Earth. As those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles fall away and that white light extends and expands, becoming one with your grounding cord. And all that love from Mother Earth, from you, from the divine, working in tandem to help you illuminate mankind, elevate your frequency and vibration, and move you into a place of unspeakable beauty. Let all of this love and light encompass you, encompass all your cells that are love. And now see those loving cells that are your body connect, and they turn into the infinity symbol. Little love cups on either side, letting you know that you are infinite and you are connected to that infinite energy of loving creation. As you sit in the center of your chest and you allow for Mother Earth, the divine, and your uniqueness to resonate throughout this dimension with love. Take a deep breath in. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Exhale. And allow that love to expand, especially in the back of you. Let that light encompass you, surround you, and let those loving vibrations reverberate throughout your environment as this love continues to cycle. Take a deep breath in, exhale, Continue to breathe with the rhythm of your body. And I want you to visualize the bottoms of your feet closing like the lens of a camera, just like your hands are gently closing like the lens of a camera. And your crown is gently closing like the lens of a camera as that gold light recedes, but that white light remains. The gold light recedes as Mother Earth energy recedes back down. And as your aura layer locks in to the higher self, the toroidal field, the pyramid, the white light, and your astral body is snapped in, feet in feet, knees in knees, hips in hips, hands in hands, elbows in elbows, shoulders in shoulders, and head in head. As you take a deep breath in and you allow for this energy to settle. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining us, Elevated Planet community, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Jolé. That was beautiful. Love that. And yeah, thank you very much for all that. And also thank you to Viola Rose as well for her input today, which was invaluable and exciting. So, you know, what we've done today, we've presented you with something that we need to know about. This is, you know, something that you can research for yourself, and we would always recommend you research it for yourself. Don't just take Elevated Planet's word for it. Have a look at it, see what you think. You know, we're always here to field any questions as well. But as well as fielding the issue that is going to be coming upon us in increasing quantities, and we know that, you know, Brazil and surrounding countries are very vulnerable at this particular point in time. But we're also presenting a solution here, which actually takes us to higher dimensions. It takes us to a more beautiful way of living life. And I'm excited to explore it. So, you know, I will be doing research on behalf of Elevated Planet to check out the workshop, and anybody else who feels drawn to do it as well, by all means, check it out, violarose.com, and you will find details of it there. But, you know, I think really, other than that, it's just to say thank you. Thank you, Jolé. And thank you to the Elevated Planet community, as always, for being here with us today. And, you know, it's any questions or anybody who wants to join our distribution list, John Drew at elevatedplanet.life is the place to come. So we look forward to hearing from you. Meanwhile, we will leave it at that for now. And that's the other thing. If you've enjoyed this, give us one of those thumbs up things on YouTube. You know, I always forget about that, but it does help, by the way. So, you know, if you didn't like it, then forget I ever asked. But yeah, that's about it. Till next week, we will wish you the best of weeks and see you next Sunday. Thank you.